You're listening to Operation Self Reset. When should you quit? What is going on, you freaking awesome people? Welcome back to Operation Self Reset. My name is Jake Naraki, coming to you live from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where each and every week we dive into a different topic in the world of personal development so you can obviously be freaking awesome. But with that being said, usually these podcast episodes are energized, energetic. There's a lot of good emotional content to bring your confidence and self-esteem up. But today we're talking about a topic that I'm not really excited to talk about, but it's something that we need to talk about personally, and that is, when should you personally quit on your endeavors, on your journey, on the thing that you're working towards. It affects all of us, but before we get into that topic, I want to take a second to thank our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Health IQ. If you are looking for life insurance and want to save a couple of bucks on your life insurance, but yet you are a healthy, conscious individual, you work out, you take care of yourself, you put good food into your body, head on over to Health IQ. They will hook you up with the best priced life insurance possible. I have talked to them. I am in the process of using them. Amazing company to make sure that my life is personally covered. Again, head on over to healthiq.com and let them know Operation Self Reset's podcast sent you over to them. All right, so today's topic is about when should you quit. Now, this is a topic that it doesn't get as much play. It is not a very popular topic. People understand about never giving up. They understand about going for it, striving, getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, all those different topics and ideas. But the question here lies within the psyche, within the self, of when should you give up? When you know that it's not working, when you know that you're not designed for an activity that you are striving for, when should you quit? Well, recently I was reading a book called The Dip by Seth Godin, and it's an amazing book, and it brought to the light of when should you quit on something that you're embarking on. And the dip is nothing more than understanding that throughout the course of our journeys, there are going to be times where we kind of start to slide down a little bit. Now, it's not a moment of quitting. It's not about, giving up on yourself just because you hit a roadblock block. It is about truly that moment when things aren't connecting the way that you thought. And it's more of a time to recognize where you're at and where you want to go. And during that process, obviously you can get engaged and figure out the next path, the next thing that you should be embarking on. Now, before I read this book, I was kind of in a different stage of my personal life. Now, if you don't know my backstory, recently, within the last 2 years, I created an event called Self Reset Power. It's an amazing experience. The first event was very nerve-wracking. It was daunting. I was scared. I was nervous. I didn't feel that I didn't have the capabilities to hold an event. The idea of why me, I'm not that type of guy, all those different types of feelings and emotions that all of us experience in different facets depending on where you are in your life and what you're striving for. I think all of us have that internal doubt man that speaks to us. And so over the course of that year in preparation, I forced myself to go ahead and do it. I got a location. It went amazing. The next year, I wanted to go bigger and better. We had it downtown Milwaukee. It was even a bigger event. The room was packed, about 40, 50 people. It was an amazing experience. And of course, I wanted to continue that for year 3. Now, this is where I'm going to be very honest. I do not believe that I'm going to be having a year 3 of Self Reset Power. Now, for some of you, it doesn't really matter because obviously you never thought about coming to the event in the first place. Maybe you just enjoy the podcast and my style. Great. I appreciate you wholeheartedly. There are individuals that are literally around the world that were planning on coming this year to Self Reset Power. Now, why did I back out and why did I quote unquote quit? Well, there's a couple of things, but before I get into that, I want to share with you a couple of realizations when it comes to figuring out your next decision that you should embark on during the process. And the reason why I say this is not because it is a moment that you're really scared or you should back out and put on the brakes. There are 3 kind of examples that Seth Godin goes into of when you should really reflect and or quit immediately in the pursuit of what you're going for. The first is the cliff. The cliff is basically understanding that you're walking through the forest and you come upon a cliff and you look down and it's just abundance of air. You see a small little river below, and you know that if you take another step, obviously you're going to fall to your doom. That is not ideal, right? If there's a cliff there, turn around, find a different route. We get that. Quit on that journey right then, right there. Cool, right on. The second is the dead end or the cul-de-sac, whatever you want to call it. That is where basically you're going on this path and you know that it's not leading anywhere. It's not taking you the place that you want to go. The vision that you had that you thought you were walking on just isn't in alignment of where you're at right now. You're in a cul-de-sac, you're in a dead end. You need to go somewhere else, so you're going to turn around and figure out the next step. But the last part is what Seth Godin really writes the whole book on, is that dip. That process where you're going good, you're going good, you're going good, and then something happens. The wheels fall off. You lose the motivation. The confidence dissipates. You make one bad business deal. You eat the chocolate brownie even though for the last 30 days you haven't had any chocolate. Wherever the case is, whatever your journey entails, that's where the dip lies. And during that dip is the reflection time, the reflection period. Now, for me personally, I during the course of trying to figure out how can I write this podcast to appeal to multiple people as opposed to just me. But because this is my show, I guess I can use myself as an example. And this is where I'm at. I'm not at the cliff because I'm not going to take one more step and I'm just going to fall to my doom and I'm going to quit at that point. I'm not in a cul-de-sac. I'm truly in a dip. Now, this dip reminded me of a couple of things of where do I want to go. And the whole reason why I started this podcast in the beginning is because I knew that being in the internet age, that if I pushed something and published it online, it would stay there pretty much forever unless the internet decided to say bye-bye and or my material just vanished into the abyss. Fortunately, I did the right things, and I believe that my business, my ideas, my voice, my blog posts, my videos should stay online for many, many, hopefully decades and maybe even centuries beyond that. The whole reason why I started the show was basically out of a chaotic time in my life where my wife was pregnant. We were having difficulty with some rental units that we owned. They were about to get foreclosed on. I was very in a negative place, and there's a lot of people that are in pain. And pain is a very universal term. We all understand it, but the level of pain that affects each of us is completely different. Because my level of pain, I thought it was like at a 9 or 10, but somebody that lost their job that is now trying to scramble to find work, that's their level 10. Or they hear my story and it's a level 3 compared to their level 10 or whatever the case may be. And I want to remind you, as a little caveat, as a little sidestep here, that wherever you're at and you hear somebody's story or you hear their example or you hear where they're about or the things that they're going through and you're like, that's nothing. That, are you serious? Really? You're in pain over that? That's what is changing your life or whatever. You cannot judge what other people are going through because their pain tolerances are completely different. Their life expectations are different. Their life experiences are different. The way that they're raised were different. All different types of factors go into our pain tolerance. And so I just want to remind you that when you do hear somebody's story that they are going through something terrible, it's not a point and a position for you to judge them. It's for you to support them. And I just want to make that clear because everybody, it seems in today's day and age, everybody that's a motivational speaker, a person that's on stage, they need to enhance their story tenfold to make it more dramatic, to make it more intense because they're competing with so many other great individuals that have truthful stories that were just like, wow, that's crazy and chaotic and horrible at the same time. And so it's just a reminder to all of us, don't judge other people's pain, whatever. So with that being said, I apologize. I regress here into my story. So out of that mess, personally, I decided to prove the critics wrong. And a lot of critics were saying that when you have a child, they're dream wreckers, they crush your ideas and ruin your life and all different types of things, of course in joking ways. And out of that frustration, I realized that I had a message to share with individuals that were going through very painful moments of their life, and I wanted to help them out. Because what I was going through wasn't that bad because it put myself in perspective to potentially the people that were out there living their lives. And I knew that my stories, my ideas could help them in that pursuit. And obviously, fast forward multiple years, here we are talking with you guys. So I appreciate you guys taking the time and, of course, listening for the last couple of months, years, whatever the case may be. Thank you full heartedly from the bottom of my heart. So, with that, what I'm getting to is I decided for this year that I was going to host a 3-day event. It was going to be bigger and better, called Self Reset Power, to kind of springboard from year one to year two. Year three was going to be bigger and badder, and badder in a good way. And it was just going to rock the house. And in the reflection at the end of 2017, I was trying to figure out the path of where I needed to go. And during the reflection period, because I believe all of us should reflect on where we're going, because if you don't, you're just going to get sucked into this vortex. And there's going to be a time when you're just like, whoa, what the heck am I doing? I don't have a game plan, whatever the case is, and so on. So I decided to kind of figure out where I'm at. And in that progression, I realized I loved live events. I loved having and hosting an event where people could come and congregate, share ideas, open mic sessions, all different types of things. But I also realized that it was not serving me personally. Number one, with the financial aspect, I'm very open-ended. I'm not closed about things that are going on in my life. If you guys ever have any questions, you want to know the truth is I spent a lot more money on that live event than I was expecting. It turned into an amazing experience. The footage that I got was rock solid. It was awesome. But at the same time, I really over leveraged the return on investment. My ticket prices were low. The expenses for the event were very high. The reason why I did that is because I was I'm a newcomer in the personal development space. I wanted the price to be intriguing to individuals to come and show up and to sign up, and so that's why I did it. And obviously it worked. It was a great event, all that stuff. But the income was not taking care of the debt of the event, and so that was good. That was good for me to see. That was good for me to realize. That was good for me to go, okay, well, if I plan to do this for 2017, I got to shake it up a little bit. I got to increase prices. I need to do so on and so forth. Throughout the course and throughout the reflection period, I also realized, though, that by diving into a live event, it was taken away from my true essence of producing this podcast. It was taken away from me making a massive impact in the world. And that massive impact really goes under the branches of I need to build something that can last longer than 3 days. I need to build something lasting longer than a day or an event or one speaking engagement. And that is why I knew I needed to jump into the game of writing the book. I've been writing this book forever. You guys probably have been hearing it, but I really need to complete this book because this is a legacy book. This is a book that will affect me right here, right now, but also it will reflect on who I was when I'm past. And that when I visualize that, when I think about it, when I say it, that is more powerful to me than hosting the 3-day event. And it took me a while to kind of build up the courage, to build up the momentum to spill it out to you guys and to say that this is happening, because obviously it's easy for me to say never give up, go for it, keep on moving. The person at the top of the mountain didn't get there by getting placed there. They went on the path and they put one foot in front of the next. Those are all really good motivational quotes, motivational ideas to keep you moving forward. But yet, you need to understand on what's the outcome here. That for me to put all this labor and effort and ideas and resources into that 3-day event was really worthwhile. It was really great. But what was the lasting effect? It wasn't part of the journey. It wasn't part of the plan. Will I do another one? Yes. Will I change it up a little bit? Yes, of course. But I know, though, that I needed to kind of change things up here to get back to my fundamental roots. And that is writing blog posts, continuing the podcast, and of course, finishing this book that will create an impact beyond the scope of this podcast. And so I know you guys didn't want to hear the whole story about me and my example. It's not about Jake. This isn't the Jake hour. But I was using that as an example to kind of build up the courage to tell you why I felt it was time for me to share this message of when you should quit. Because all of us are embarking on something. All of us are striving for something, but we need to know when enough is enough. We need to know when it's time to lay down the weapons and to go, you know what? This was a battle that was really out of my scope. I was not prepared. It was a battle that I was outnumbered. It was a battle that I thought I was in shape for, but it really drained my resources. And I'm going to retreat. I'm going to figure out a better game plan. And I'm going to continue again. Now, the difference between quitting and changing paths, I think, is very obvious. Quitting is just stopping cold turkey. You're embarking then on a new path. For me personally, I don't believe this is quitting. I believe it's quitting an event for this year, 2017, but it's not quitting my journey, my path, and my overall what I want to do personally. And so yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. The reason why I guess I'm jumbling over this a little bit is number one, I read in multiple places you need to build the courage to quit. And at first I thought, that's hogwash. Like, are you serious? Like, really? You need to build the courage up to quit? But yet, when I sat down and tried to outline, what I want to talk about with you guys, it took me by surprise the amount of courage that needed to take place for me to sit here and to tell you guys that I'm quitting on that. And it's not so much like you guys are going to judge me and hate me and criticize me and put me in front of everybody and throw tomatoes at me. It's more of the idea of, I know there are people out there that are looking forward to this event, and I know there are people that are planning on flying in for this event from around the country, around the world. But unfortunately, I can't. I can't do that this year, and it's hurtful because it hurts me knowing that I'm hurting them. And I think people get it, people understand, and life's still going to go on. It's not like a huge impact to anybody's life because those individuals still had to pay to come. So if in actuality, maybe I'm saving them some money, but overall, it takes courage to quit, and I think that's the biggest thing. It takes courage to quit smoking. It takes courage to quit, eating junk food. It takes courage to quit your job. It takes courage to quit a dwindling relationship. It takes courage to quit a lifestyle that is not providing the things that you want. It's challenging and it takes courage to quit a TV show in a series that all your friends are watching, but you know that you want to embark on a new journey and something that lights you up personally, and you know that when you see them next, they're going to talk about the show and you're not because you quit the show. It takes courage. And so for the people that are on the fence of figuring out what do they want to do next, and they're trying to figure out their path, and they're knowing that what they're doing is not healthy for their lifestyle, for themselves, to quit on yourself or to quit on the endeavor of whatever it is you're going for, it takes courage. And understand that it's not easy to do. Understand that it sucks. Understand that it's going to take a lot of internal battles for you to raise up, to put that flag on your flagpole to say, I surrender, I quit on this endeavor. But you got to understand, though, that the people that are magical at the things that they do out in the world that you and I look at and watch every single day, from athletes to entrepreneurs to politicians to nonprofits to charities to people that are going around and doing magical things in the world, they also quit. Richard Branson is amazing at running multiple companies, but he is an absolute horrible golfer. Why is that? Because he quit on golfing. Elon Musk is an amazing guy that has a vision of building multiple different types of vehicles that are battery powered. He has the same type of desire and passion for also sending people to Mars. But yet, Elon Musk is a horrible cook. Why is that? Because he quit on that too. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I want to talk about our sponsor for today, Operation Self Reset. It's sponsored by Health IQ. Health IQ is an insurance company that helps healthy, conscious people like runners, cyclists, weightlifters, and even vegetarians get lower rates on their life insurance. Head on over to healthiq.com/reset to support the show and to see if you personally qualify. The great part about Health IQ is that 56% of Health IQ customers save between 4 and 33% on their life insurance. Those savings are only exclusive to Health IQ, and Health IQ uses science and data to secure lower rates on life insurance for healthy, conscious people. And honestly, it is an amazing company that is designed to help you guys, the healthy, conscious individual, save money on your life insurance. Life insurance is one of those things that it's not sexy, attractive, or personally you're going to benefit from, but it is something kind of like peace of mind that you will make sure that your family is taken care of in the event that something happens to you. And you know what? Life is crazy. Life is weird. We can't control it, but what we can control is setting ourselves up for success. And if you truly want to set your family up for success, make sure you get yourself life insurance. And if Health IQ seems like a great option to you to save some money on your life insurance, make sure you head on over to healthiq.com/reset to see how they can help you save money on your life insurance. And lastly, if you talk to them, let them know Operation Self Reset Podcast sent you over to them. So with that being said, I appreciate you. Thanks for your time, and back to the show. And so if you put in that retrospect, people get that, right? They understand, okay, well, Michael Phelps, the guy won like 25,000 gold medals. But we also know Michael Phelps is a horrible public speaker. He's obviously gotten better, but in the beginning, he was a horrible public speaker. Why was that? Well, because he was swimming and training for the Olympics, then working on his public speaking skills. It's obvious to see that because those people are at the top of their game. For you and for I that are on this journey, on this path of moving forward, we're not at the top of our game yet, but we will be. And in that progression, we're going through the trials and the irritations of quitting things along the way. And if you can understand that, and you can understand that by me quitting this will open up that, it's a whole new world to you. It game changes your outlook. It game changes your focus. It game changes that mental chatter and that doubt that goes in within yourself. And so the thing that you got to recall here is that you're not quitting because it's over and done with and I gave it a worthy shot. You're quitting to open up the doors for the next thing. Now, there is a very fine line here of quitting on one thing and jumping into another line. Seth Godin from the book The Dip talks about people. There's three types of people that walk up to lines at the grocery store. There's one person that picks one lane and sticks in it. There's one person that goes in one lane and then finds a different lane and then they just stay in that lane. So they alter and change one time. Or then there is a person that bounces from lane to lane to lane that tries to find the fastest because they're in the rush, but then they get caught up and obviously the lane that they pick or the lane that they get caught in doesn't manifest into anything that allows them to move faster in the lines. Now, when I heard that, I was like, what type of person am I? What does that represent for me? Truly, I think I'm the individual that jumps lanes, but I only jump once or twice. I don't feel myself running from lane to lane to lane to find that thing. So what does that mean? I don't know. Unfortunately, you're probably thinking to yourself, I'm the type of person that sticks in a lane and sticks in it. Okay, great. Unfortunately, I don't have the science or the research or the documentation to say, well, if you're this type of person, you do that. If you're that person, do this. But all I know is that I know the path that I choose to go on is a path that's continuous and it's going to continue to grow. And along the way, there are things that are just not working. And I cannot continue to keep on chopping down that tree just to reap the rewards of that weekend, that thing for the moment, the monetary value. And a lot of us do that daily. The person that has been quitting smoking for multiple weeks, they go, it's just one cigarette. And they obviously revert into that old person. The same with sweets, the same with addiction to TV, all different types of addiction and stuff like that. I guess we could go on for hours and hours and hours. But in that case, I just wanted to use myself as an example and to share with you that case study, aka myself, and the idea of by you quitting will open up the doors for something else. Now, let me take a little second here and to appreciate you. I appreciate you guys. I thank you guys. Let's take a second and focus on our posture here a little bit. Let's sit up straight. Let's put our shoulders back here a little bit. Let's put our chin up. Let's look into the horizon here, into the future. Let's just breathe for a second here. Going into this next phase here, I want to take a second and talk about the three ideas of when you should personally quit. By no means are these the scientific research ways, and unfortunately, when it comes to quitting, there isn't any. But there is a voice that sits inside two areas. Number one, our brain, and the second is our gut. And unfortunately, I've kind of really opened up the research and the ideas of understanding that our gut controls a lot of the feelings and emotions and our decisions that are made throughout our process. And for me, I've been really focusing on gut health, and so I'm very, very much qualified to say that there are two voices inside of us. There is one side of our mind, and then there is one inside of our gut. And you may be thinking, well, which one is better? Which one should I listen to? You should listen to both. One is not superior over the other. All I can say is that your gut talks to your brain. Your brain does not talk to your gut. Your brain talks to everything. Your brain does self checks. Your brain analyzes and figures out and does all different types of things. So when it comes to making a decision, because that's what you're doing, if you choose to quit, you're making a decision. You need to think it through beyond the instant gratification, beyond the one step, I'm doing this right here, right now, because I see that donut and I'm going to eat it as fast as I can and then I'm going to get over with it. No, you need to be kind of waging a war within yourself of the pluses and minuses, and also taking a step back and removing yourself from that situation before you dive into that tray of donuts or that cigarette again. And so here we go. Let's dive into the first one. That one I guess I just shared was kind of like point 0.5, but let's dive into number one, the times that when you should quit. Number one is this: when you have a better game plan. Now, the reason why I say that is because during the journey, during the process, a lot of us kind of, zip and zag and dip and dive and all different types of things. But throughout the course, you're going to find a better way. The reason why you find a better way is because you're immersing yourself in thought, immersing yourself in health, in your job, in your relationship, in your hobby, whatever it is. And so the thing is, if you figure out a better path from A to B instead of what you're currently on, you need to quit. It's pretty obvious. The reason why I say this is number one, because if you immerse yourself, if you're in kind of the zone, you've been analyzing. You have different inputs coming in. You're probably listening to different things. You're watching different things. You're reading upon, different things that come into your life. You're interviewing and talking with people about the subject or topic. And during that process, you're receiving a lot more input, a lot better education, a lot better resourceful ideas to help you in that journey. And so the idea that comes out of it is, if there's a better way to get from point A to point B, I'm going to do that than what I'm currently on, because what I'm currently on is going to take longer. It's the idea of, if you're going to travel across the country and your goal here in America, I live in the United States of America, if I'm going to go from New York to LA, and the idea is I'm going to ride a bicycle there, and I just totally forgot, or I never thought about, maybe renting a bus or getting in a car or flying or different other means, obviously that would be faster. It allows me to do the same thing, right? It allows me to go from New York to LA a lot quicker. And so because of that, I'm going to quit on the path of obviously riding my bike. Now, that's a very easy and weak example, but it kind of hits home the point that a lot of us are kind of mindset that our head is down, that we're going to grind away at the same process, the same thing every single day. But there are new ways to kind of go about our lives. And if you're able to surround yourselves with the right people, with the right books, with the right education, the right videos, the right ideas, you're going to find a better mousetrap. You're going to find something that is going to be a little bit better than what you're currently doing. Once you do that, and once you understand that, obviously take time and not just jump from point A to point B, but to take, like, literally just to write it out, to think about it, to analyze it, to see if this is really going to benefit you in your process. Then you need to quit. But do not make a decision that is super instant. Don't make a decision when you're hungry, you have to pee, or you're tired. And I learned that from my dad. My dad always told me that if you ever have to make a decision, or you have to negotiate, or you have to talk to somebody, and you have to shake a hand on a deal, make sure you don't have to go to the bathroom, make sure you're not hungry, and make sure that you are not tired. Because if you have one of those three things, you're going to make a wrong decision. And so out of that, you need to kind of prepare yourself for that decision, as in go to the bathroom, eat something, make sure you have a good night's rest before you make that decision. The same applies to example number one here of understanding if there's a better way, you need to quit to go attack that better way. Number two. Number two is about your priorities. Now, all of us have a hierarchy of needs. All of us have things that we want and crave in our lives. Some people put more attention and more effort and more ideas into other things, like maybe food or time off, cutting the grass, whatever the case may be. But we all have priorities that you and I must excel at, must hit on a daily basis for us to feel satisfied. And if something that you're going towards is altering that priority, then you need to quit it. As an example of this, by me embarking on my event, it's going to take time away from my family. For 2018, one of my goals is to spend more quality time with the family. To do that, I need to remove things that are not part of my vision. And my priority is family. And number two would be obviously the business. And so, because of that, I am laying down the sword in the arena of the live events until I get additional help and resources and things that can allow that priority of family still to thrive during that course. A lot for you personally, you have priorities that you need to hit, and if you don't, you feel bad. And the case may be you may be working super long hours. You may be taking time away from your family or your own personal passion. For example, if you enjoy triathlons are obviously swimming, biking, and running. It takes a lot of time to train for something like that. But if you absolutely love triathlons, and though your job is taking you away from your training, you need to set the priority of the thing that you love the most and figure out a way of how to either negotiate or talk with your supervisor or to figure out how can you better manage your time for you to still fill up your own personal bucket of the priority of training for that triathlon. That you need to know what your priorities are, and if you don't, you need to write them down or to figure them out. And the best way to go about that is to go on Google and to type in what are like top priorities. And priorities, there's like hundreds of sheets that will come on up of different ideas of what people have priorities over. And for you, you need to figure out what your priorities are, because if you don't have your priorities, then you're not going to give the full effort, the full attention to the things that you absolutely love. And if that's the case, you're going to be pushing away the things that you absolutely love. And what's the point of living if you're pushing away the things that you absolutely love? How many more times can I say absolutely love? So the second would be to understand your priorities and to figure out if the thing that you're striving for, if the thing that you're doing is altering and hindering your priorities, then you have to quit. Again, results may vary, ideas may vary. This is just general terms. The third is this. This one is pretty obvious, I hope, if it's hurting you or hurting people around you. It seems obvious. A lot of us, though, get caught up in our own world. We strive for things, we do things, but we need to reflect on the things that we care for. Obviously, our own general health, and then second, of the people that truly surround us. Because again, what is the point of living if you are living alone or not living with the people that you can enjoy your successes with? And so, if it's hurting you personally, health wise, mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, any type of those keywords or senses or whatever, you need to quit it. Because what you're doing is not healthy for you. It's not going to sustain for the long run, and it's only going to make you worse as a person. And those people that are surrounding you right now, or the people that have left you, is because of that. In my journey, I got obsessed with the podcast. I got obsessed with my business. People naturally, gradually, kind of started to dwindle away. But at the same time, I'm in a resurgence where people are coming back into my life. I think my obsession and my full head to the ground approach was not ideal, and so I've loosened that up a little bit to bring back people into my life, and it's been very joyful experience. Now for you, you're doing things that are obviously you feel are beneficial to you. It's growing, it's allowing you to have financial freedom, it's allowing you to have more time, whatever the case is. But you need to reflect here, and is it truly hurting yourself, or is it hurting people around you? And if it's hurting yourself, chances are you probably don't see it, but keep your ears open to the people that are around you, the people that love you, because chances are they're screaming or telling or hinting or letting you know that what you're doing is a little out of the ordinary. Now, again, take that as a grain of salt. Take their opinion as something to investigate further. I'm not saying listen to other people and then whatever they say, go and bend, because obviously everybody has different priorities. Everybody has different ideas of pain tolerances. Everybody has different ideas of obsessiveness. And so it's up to you to make sure that what you're doing is in your own regard. And so obviously those are three very general terms, but again, it's very challenging to build the courage of when you should quit. And the question is, when should you? You need to listen to yourself, and you need to also sit down with a pen and paper in a quiet area and to figure out the path, to figure out the journey. Is this truly helping me or hurting me? Is this fulfilling me? Is this not? Is this allowing me to have the things that I want, or is this stressing me out? You need to personally make that on your own. Unfortunately, I can't do that for you. I never suggest anybody quits on a whim. I never suggest anybody quits because they just woke up or they don't feel like it, or one terrible experience has altered their outlook. You need to do the right things for you personally, but needless to say, you need to keep on stepping in the right direction. The right direction of life, the right direction for yourself, the right direction for your family, whatever the case is, wherever you're stepping for, you need to keep moving right and up. And the reason why you do that is obviously continuous growth. Because as Tony Robbins says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And so the only way to keep on growing is to keep on moving in a direction. You can pivot, you can alter, you can find a different path, but as a Navy SEAL, Michael Thornton told me he was a recipient of the Medal of Honor. He did something very heroic in Vietnam with a couple of other Navy SEALs. He received the Medal of Honor. I asked him a couple of questions. I had him on the podcast, I think early on, back in 2014, July era. I asked him, what was the biggest thing that you learned about yourself? And the one thing he learned was I never give up on my family, and most importantly, I never give up on myself. And that is my own kind of salute, my own personal mantra of never giving up on myself. Sure, are there things that are going to come and go? Sure. Am I going to alter? Am I going to zig and zag? Of course. But I'm never going to give up on you guys. I'm never going to give up on my own pursuits, and I hope you guys do the same. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys full-heartedly. I thank you for taking the time to listen to my examples, my ideas on when you should quit. Quitting is never easy. Get the courage. Quit now so you can open the doors for something else. Again, the people that are out there in the world that are doing amazing things, they quit a lot of things. And so I challenge you to quit something for you to open up and excel at, to be an expert at, to be the top dog at. It's not easy, it's hard, it's challenging, but I know you guys can truly do it. Again, lastly, quit on whatever you're embarking on is fine, but again, never quit on thyself. I appreciate you guys full-heartedly. Thanks for all the reviews and love, and I hope to connect with you guys in 2019 for Self Reset Power, because I know this year just didn't work out personally. I apologize for the people that had flights and booked things. I will be getting in contact with you guys individually to return your money and to return everything full-heartedly. So I appreciate you guys more than you could have ever imagined. Thank you much. Enjoy your week. We'll talk to you guys next week, Wednesday, for another great episode of Operation Self Reset. We'll see ya.